Uncle Argus. Quill was relieved.
Moss has earned itself a bit of a reputation on Quest. It was released quite early when the Quest first came out and was a clean port of a game that was already well and truly polished. Nothing like the flood of half-baked, waiting for patches titles that we've since, grown to expect. As a 3D platformer in VR, Moss mostly had no real rivals on the platform. Then Adventure came along, but although pretty, felt lifeless, and Moss stood on top of a small niche until Lucky's Tale came along and sat right next to it. They're both unique titles, with Lucky's Tale being a bit like Mario in VR, and Moss focusing far more on the narrative context of your little mouse's story, which brings us to Quill.
We're twofold.
In the first Moss, you, as the reader, had to help Quill save her uncle from a terrible monster, and the game ended just there. You've defeated the monster, your uncle is safe. Book 2 picks up right after the final battle of the first game, and very quickly becomes Moss, the Infinity War. The bad guy, well, Owl, wants the 5 magical pieces of glass, and you have 2, and Quill and his uncle somewhat fascistically decide that they must get ultimate power because it would be very, very, very bad if somebody else did. Never mind that. But it's basically the Owl's Thanos, you're the good guy. So, Quill remains your main character in Moss Book 2, and she's as charming as ever, but both you and Quill pick up a few new tricks this time, and you're also introduced to another playable character, but we'll talk more about that in the full review. Moss Book 2 is ridiculously easy to recommend to fans of the first game. The best thing about it is that it is more Moss, and to that end it does everything a sequel is expected to. It expands the story and the world, it introduces new characters, new gameplay mechanics, and in all fairness, it's pretty as hell with fantastic art direction. I still haven't finished the game, which is why this is an impressions video, not a review, but my biggest nagging criticism of the game in the first couple of hours was that it felt like just more Moss. Which is fine, but, you have expectations. So yeah, it feels a little bit like just more Moss at the start for the first hour or two, I suppose, before you start getting the extra abilities and you start feeling the new game mechanics play a part. But the deeper I get into Moss Book 2, the more I'm impressed. The graphical style is phenomenal, and the animations are polished and endearing. The character work, voice work, and musical score are all incredibly well made and truly do make you feel like you're part of an epic tale. Really looking forward to finishing it, and I suppose we'll have a full review ready for you when I do. Meanwhile, I hope you've had a great day. If you like our channel, give us a like. If you really like our channel, give us a subscribe. And enjoy your quest.
To join our fight.
Impossible!
The toad scoffed.
Root-seer Vader, revered leader of the Maya sprites and astute seer of the fates and patterns of nature's purview, does not take walk-ins.
Please, our fates depend on it.